All right, imagine this for a second. What if you could create so much demand for what you do that you actually had a line of people waiting for the chance to work with you? That is the whole idea behind Daniel Priestley's game-changing concept of becoming oversubscribed. It's really all about flipping the script, you know? Instead of you chasing clients, you become the one who gets to choose. So let's break down exactly how that works. It's a question that I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. Why is it that some people, or some brands, just effortlessly attract opportunities? They're like magnets, right? Things just seem to flow to them, while everyone else is out there fighting for just a little bit of attention. But what if I told you it has nothing to do with luck, that it's actually a deliberate, repeatable strategy? So this is the goal. This is what we're aiming for. Being oversubscribed simply means you have more demand for what you offer than you can possibly supply. And think about what that does. It means you get to choose your clients. You get to set your terms. You're operating from a place of strength, not desperation. Honestly, it's the ultimate game changer. And the best part? It is totally achievable. Okay, so the big question is, how do we get there? Well, it boils down to a really clear four-pillar system. First, we're going to build your foundation. Then we'll engineer attraction. After that, we'll create an experience they'll never forget. And finally, we'll adopt the growth mindset to keep it all going. Let's dive right in with Pillar 1. All right, Pillar 1, the foundation of authority. Look, before you even think about any fancy marketing tactics, you absolutely have to have a rock-solid foundation. This isn't about getting famous overnight. It's about becoming the undisputed go-to authority in your space. This is the bedrock, right? Everything else we're going to talk about is built right on top of this. So how do you build it? Here's the crucial point. Authority doesn't come from tricks. It comes from genuine value. We're talking about a relentless focus on quality, always putting what your audience actually needs first, and, of course, operating with unwavering integrity. That's what builds that deep, deep trust that makes people want to work with you long before you even have anything to sell them. Okay, once that foundation is solid, we get to move on to Pillar 2, and this is where it gets really exciting. The art of attraction. This is all about engineering demand and making people come to you. It's that huge strategic shift from chasing down leads to becoming an absolute magnet for your ideal clients. So what does that shift actually look like? Well, this really lays it out perfectly. On the one hand, you've got the old way, chasing, the push method. It feels like you're just shouting into the wind, desperately pushing your message out there, hoping someone, anyone, listens. But the oversubscribed way, that's all about pull. It's about becoming magnetic, creating this kind of gravitational field with your value, so the right people are just naturally drawn in. So how do you actually build that magnetic pull? Well, you've got a few key levers at your disposal. Things like creating scarcity and exclusivity, captivating people with great storytelling, using social proof so they trust you, collaborating with influencers, and just generally generating buzz. These are all powerful, but there's one that's so counterintuitive, yet so incredibly effective. And here it is, creating scarcity increases desirability. This is such a core principle. When you create genuine scarcity and a bit of exclusivity, you signal huge value. I mean, just think about it, right? When something isn't available to everybody all the time, its perceived value just shoots through the roof. And this is not about playing games. It's about respecting your own value and your own time. All right, so you've built your authority, you've attracted a ton of interest, but the job is definitely not done. In fact, this is where a lot of people drop the ball. Pillar 3 is all about creating an unforgettable experience. It's about what happens after they say yes. Because this is how you turn a customer into a true lifelong fan. And that journey from just being a customer to becoming part of a loyal tribe, it's all built on relationships. It might kick off with an amazing offer, sure, but what keeps it going is that genuine connection you build. You have to look at the entire experience, optimize every little piece of it, really listen to what people are telling you, and just be obsessed with their success. That is how you build a tribe that will shout about you from the rooftops. And that brings us to our final pillar, the one that powers everything else. Think of this as the engine for growth. See, becoming oversubscribed isn't a finish line you cross once. It's a state you have to maintain. And to do that, you need a very specific mindset, a certain way of thinking. And right at the very core of this engine is a growth mindset. It's that fundamental belief that you're not just stuck with the skills you have. It's knowing that your abilities can be developed with hard work and dedication. And when you believe that, everything changes. Suddenly, challenges aren't roadblocks anymore. They're just opportunities to learn and get better. Next up, you've got to be willing to take some calculated risks. You just can't stay oversubscribed by constantly playing it safe. Real, sustained growth means taking smart, thoughtful chances. Now, this isn't about being reckless. It's about strategically stepping out of your comfort zone to try new things, knowing that even when something doesn't work out, it's not a failure. It's just valuable data. You know, it's funny. Success can actually be a trap. It's so easy to get comfortable. But the thing is, what got you here isn't necessarily what's going to keep you here. The market is always changing. It's like a moving wave, and you have to be nimble enough to ride it. So, constant innovation, it's not some luxury. It is the only way to stay relevant and stay ahead. And finally, what ties all of this together is a deep commitment to lifelong learning. Seriously, if you look at the most in-demand people and brands out there, they all share this one trait. They are relentlessly curious. They never, ever assume they have it all figured out. They're always learning, always seeking out new skills and new knowledge. So look, if there's just one thing you take away from all this, let it be this right here. Being oversubscribed is not luck. It is not some magical thing that happens to other people. It is a system, a deliberate, repeatable system built on those 4 pillars: a strong foundation of authority, the art of attraction, an unforgettable experience, and the right growth mindset. And that brings me to my final question for you. I want you to really think about this. Looking back at those 4 pillars we just talked about, what is one single thing, maybe even a small thing, that you can apply today to start becoming more in demand? Just one thing. Because that first small step, well, that's where this whole journey really begins.